seems that March is just the time for tournaments here in the States, isn't it? Obviously, we have the NCAA tournaments going on, the basketball tournaments, that is. I guess the hockey tournament starts next week, and and of course there's the Crocket Cup, a professional wrestling tournament for tag teams. And the Billy Corgan NWA is holding this. Obviously, I know there's a lineage back to Jim Crocket Promotions, and that it goes back to, I believe, 1986. And obviously, and then it went dormant when Crocket Promotions broke away from the NWA and it became WCW. Now it came back a couple of years ago, and then obviously it stopped because of the pandemic, and so it's now back for its I guess second or third iteration here. We did have a kickoff show match. It was, I don't really have a lot of pictures for these, unfortunately, so yeah, you're going to see the bracket for the Crocket Cup quite a bit during this, but we'll get to it when we get there. All right, the kickoff show match was Magic Jack Dumas versus Captain Yuma of the group the Ill Begotten. The Ill Begotten are also facing off in the tag team tournament. But it doesn't know if no one knows it, or no one knew at the time whether or not Captain Yuma would be part of that. But this match does actually wind up playing a part in that match when it rolls around. Early on, Yuma's got more of a. If I were to compare him to someone, I would compare him to Nova from ECW, the BWO, which would also pay off later. Dumas is basically like evil street magician who just doesn't care. Early on, he comes in the ring with an unlit cigarette, which, if you're going to have a cigarette in your mouth, I mean, I know public smoking really isn't a thing anymore, so maybe it's something other than a cigarette, but yeah, he uses a trick with the disappearing cigarette to distract Yuma to get a cheap shot at him. Yuma did come back, hit a unique-looking crossbody through the ropes. Dumas hit a brainbuster and followed that up with a big lariat. Yuma came back with a flying dropkick. But then, excuse me, what did I write here? Dumas hit his finisher, which is called the Abracadabra, which was kind of a fireman carry into the stunner. That's what it was. It's called the Abracadabra for the 3 count and the victory. And this would wind up paying off a little bit later down the line, like I said. Now, there's going to be a bit of a break here because I have to look up a couple reference things, but I wrote it down, don't worry. But we're going to go into a 4-way tag match to get the last spot in the Crocket Cup tournament against the NWA World Tag Team Champions La Rebellion, and that consists of Violence is Forever, the Rip City Shooters, the Bad News Boys, or the Tate Twins, they called them both during this thing, and the Heat Seekers. I gotta quickly look this up. The Bad News Boys, or the Tate Twins, are Brent and Brandon Tate. Violence is Forever is Dominic Garini and Kevin Liu. The Rip City Shooters are Joshua Bishop and Wes Barkley. That sounds right, yeah. And the Heat Seekers are Elliot Russell and Sigmund. Okay, sorry. I wrote down some of the members of these teams because they weren't very good at, like I said, it doesn't help that you're seeing like 4, you're going through 4 teams and maybe not everyone's always familiar with, and it was kind of hard to catch some of the names sometimes. Like, the audio was pretty good throughout most of this. The audio was consistent, the feed never really broke up or anything, so that was all right. And still, the match itself, a lot of high spots in there. The Tate Twins ultimately won. I'm sorry if there's not a lot of descriptions for this, but yeah. There's some good isolation parts in there, like Violence is Forever and the Heat Seekers kind of colluded together early on to take out the other teams. I believe it was Brent Tate. Yeah, Brent Tate got in a quick, shockwave type maneuver on one of the other Rip City. Like I said, I have trouble memorizing some of these teams. But ultimately, here's the main problem I had with the match. They telegraphed they already announced who was winning it. Because they were running through the card, and this was all during the kickoff show. They were running through the card, and they said, we have this fatal 4-way match. Oh, and then La Rebellion is going to be taking on the Tate Twins, or the Bad News Boys. And it's like, oops. You showed it a little too early, guys. They literally flashed the picture up on the screen and everything, so it's like, uh-oh. Well, wait, I thought they were all... I thought, oh, uh-oh, did they goof? Yeah, like I said, not a terrible match. A lot of high spot activity in this. The only problem I think I had with this is I don't think the Tate twins really did enough to warrant winning the match. From what I saw, I thought the Rip City Shooters did way more than, at least in terms of what appeared to be the babyface tag teams. But Violence is Forever, I think, did the most, and maybe the heel teams did way more action. It should have maybe been in a better position to look like they were going to win this before it happened. In fact, I believe the Tate twins got Gardini from Violence is Forever in a roll-up, and it was a really awkwardly staged one because you couldn't... It looked like he was in the ropes, but they still counted the 3, and that got a little confusing. However, the NWA did make it up for the third match, which was a first-round match in the Crocket Cup tournament. This was all tag matches for night 1. The other matches are going to be night 2. So basically, it's the first round of the Crocket Cup and the quarterfinals. So yeah, 2 matches for each team, except for one. Except for 2 actually, because one obviously would be they keep calling them different names of the thing, and I'm confused. The Tate twins, who would, if they were to have gone through, would have wrestled 3 matches, and the Fixers, who are Bradley and Legursky, Wrecking Ball Legursky, I forget Bradley's first name, and they had won an earlier match that got them basically a first-round bye. Okay, but we got our big first-round match here because they really did spoil us in the kickoff show matches. We got the now of Vic Delicious and Collins, I forget his first name, sorry, versus Jay and Mark the Briscoes, the highly decorated tag team from Ring of Honor, IWGP, just about everywhere, save for WWE. Definitely one of the better tag teams in wrestling today, if maybe the best, and definitely in the hierarchy of all-time tag teams. Right off the now tried to already throw a chair into the ring during the entrance. Mark Briscoe got Idiot Collins with a drop hold into face lock, did some chain wrestling. They had some brawling. Briscoes isolated Collins very early on. Eventually, they now did fight back. They got an elbow drop and a backstabber on them. Jay dodged another elbow that got Mark the hot tag. And the Briscoes hit their sort of power bomb frog splash elbow drop finisher for the 3 count and the victory. Good little high action tag team match. Again, helped whip the crowd up a little bit. Briscoes are mega popular, so that really helped. They got on the mic after that, and they, again, like I said, whipped the crowd up even more, so it got everyone excited. The Briscoes probably, one of, if not the favorites going into this, unless FTR somehow inserts themselves at some point, but you never know. Okay, we now move on to the show proper, and our first, again, this first night was all the tag matches, so none of the singles matches or anything, that's all on night 2. So our next first round match is the end of Pero and Odinson taking on PJ and Luke Hawks, the father and son tag team known as Oxari. Luke is the father, just in case you were wondering. Early on, Pero and Odinson argue over who got to start the match. PJ caught Odinson in a quick suplex. Pero basically had blind tagged in and threw PJ into the post. Odinson came back, interfered, which allowed Pero to hit Luke with a series of splashes. Odin basically hit this, I'm trying to think of a phrase, they did sort of a Death Valley driver into a splash type maneuver, the end did there. It's kind of hard to describe. Luke came back, fought back. I think Pero was going for like a Vader bomb. Luke fought back. And then, of course, tribute to Scott Hall, which there were many throughout the show. Hit a crucifix bomb or a razor's edge off the second rope onto Pero. PJ got the hot tag. He had a big head scissors, which caused Odinson to inadvertently spear Pero. And then PJ countered an airplane spin into a small package for the 3 count of the victory. Afterwards, though, the end jumped the Hawks and beat them up and powerbombed Luke repeatedly, causing him to have a concussion, which will play a part later in the show. So from there, we move on to our next first round match, which was the Cardonas of VSK and Mike Knox against the Pope and Powerhouse, or Super Strong Mims, sorry. Right off the bat, Pope won right after Mox, who had attacked him a few weeks earlier on the NWA Television show. And basically, VSK, but VSK actually started the match. VSK hit a big head scissors. Mims got in, hit a big World's Strongest Slam on VSK. Like, Mike Knox didn't participate too much in the match. I mean, he ran a lot of distractions. In fact, he managed to distracted the ref long enough to allow VSK to get a quick cheap shot and then tag Knox in. Pope got a hot tag and hit Knox with a bionic elbow smash. They hit some dives to the outside. Pope and Mims hit a Doomsday device, but Knox broke up the pin. Knox and VSK hit a double team maneuver. Basically, Knox's finisher is the Sister Abigail kind of swinging slam move, and then or swinging flatliner. And then I believe VSK hits a frog splash for the 3 count of the victory. And one of the commentators for the show and overall for NWA is Velvet Sky, who's had some run-ins with the Cardona family and everything that's going on there. And she is not happy about this and threatened to walk off. Which, all due respect to Velvet Sky, I liked her in TNA. I liked her, I know she's a good wrestler. I know she's capable of being a good talker, but she's not a good announcer. In fact, the 2 female announcers they have are just bad. Like, her and the woman who does the backstage interviews, they all sound like this. They just don't emote at all. And it's really kind of distracting. However, Velvet was managed to talk into staying for the next match because it's the Dirty Sexy Boys of JTG and Dirty Dango against Aaron Stevens, or it's supposed to be Aaron Stevens, that's the former Damien Sandow, and Kratos, but for some reason Kratos couldn't make it in the time. There was some sort of travel thing that happened, and Kratos wasn't there to be picked. So Stevens came out and he said, we have to view this as kind of a tag team is a lot like a marriage. And when you're getting married, you need something old. So we have the Crocket Cup. That's something old. You have something new. That's my new entrance gear. And I have something borrowed. I borrowed a lot of credibility from the city of Nashville or something like that. And something blue, and that of course would be the Blue Meanie, being the new tag team partner of Aaron Stevens. And this was basically just a squash match. Stevens did get in a few good licks here. Early on, he and Dirty Dango did kind of a dueling striptease. But basically, the Blue Meanie got the hot tag at one point, kind of started doing some moves, but then immediately got hit with one double team maneuver, and that was it. I can't even remember what it was. It was so vague a maneuver. It was like a flying meteor into like a table type maneuver. Dango got the cover for the 3 count of the victory, and that was kind of the... we need a quick match so we can move on to the next one. Moment of the night, unfortunately. And like I said, it was kind of nice. The announcers had some fun with it, but that was about the best they could do. And that leads us into our next match, which is the team of Strictly Business. That's Chris Adonis and Tom Latimer. Chris Adonis, the former Chris Masters in WWE, if you remember that far back. And the Gold Rush team of Jake Clearwater and I think it's Mache Rocket. I'm winging that pronunciation a little bit, sorry. Adonis immediately tried to lock the Clearwater in the master lock. But the match had not started yet, so even though Clearwater was clearly out of it, they basically, Rocket had to interfere to break the hold to get the match to start proper. Clearwater came back, hit a big jawbreaker, and then got the hot tag to Rocket. Rocket came in, he locked on, what did I write? Oh, no. Rocket got locked in the master lock, but the ref was distracted by Clearwater, and then enabled him to get kind of a low blow. And at that point, also, Tyrus attacked Adonis on the outside of the ring, and that distracted Latimer long enough to what did I write here? Attacked Adonis, Latimer got hit with the belt. That's what happened. And then Rocket covered for the 3 count in the victory. Again, another kind of, we got to get things moving. We got to have a quick little match here. Kind of interesting. I mean, the funny thing was both teams were technically heels. So, the Gold Rush, you have to say it like that because there's like 3 H's. They're part of a faction that's managed by Austin. It's Idol something Sports Management. And they're on there with Tyrus, the former Brodus Clay, who is the NWA Television Champion, and a African-American preacher gimmick called Black G's. Whew. Sorry. I guess they maybe had a bit more momentum on them. I mean, Tyrus has a big match tonight, and because he interfered in this, he actually plays a part later in the show as well. At least this night of the show. Okay, so this next spot is kind of weird because it's technically the British Invasion versus the team of Ill Begotten. However, this is not the British Invasion you might remember. The British Invasion from TNA, which was Doug Williams and Magnus, who you would know better now as Nick Aldis. However, because Nick Aldis is going for the NWA World Championship tomorrow, he can't actually compete in that. And so Williams has enlisted the aid of Harry Smith, the son of the British Bulldog, and they are calling themselves the Commonwealth Connection, but I'm just going to refer to them as the British Invasion because, well, that's just what I'm going to refer to them as. Like I said, Captain Yuma is the founder of Ill Begotten, and the other team was Russell, Tyler, and I forget who the other one was. Freeman, Tyler, and I'm trying to think. Basically, Freeman and Tyler were going to compete in the match. This other guy who's sort of semi-managing them, told Yuma, basically, you lost earlier, so you don't get to compete, and sent him to the back. However, that really didn't matter because this was just a big squash match. The British Invasion completely dominated. At one point, they did try to, their little manager guy tried to Plunkett, that's it, Jeremiah Plunkett, tried to interfere, but that brought Captain Yuma out, and they got into a fight and brawled into the crowd, and that just allowed Williams and Smith to hit a running power slam and the headbutt, the old British Bulldogs finisher, for the 3 count and the victory to move on to the quarterfinals. And that leads us into our last first round matchup, which was La Rebellion versus the Tate Twins, or the Bad News Boys, or whatever. Early on, Brent got a little cocky, and he was mouthing off to Bestia 666 of La Rebellion, who then decided to bring in Mecha Wolf. However, Brent hit a few arm drags. Brandon then tagged in. He hit a springboard crossbody onto Mecha Wolf. La Rebellion hit a double knee stomp to Brent, and then Brandon got into it. He had a springboard. He tried to do a springboard maneuver, but he completely botched it. Like, he went up, I think it was supposed to be a flying springboard into a flying forearm, but he missed, and he landed right on his forearm. You could tell, like, he tweaked his wrist. I mean, the Tates did come back, hit a couple of big planches. They hit their finish, which is a Space Jam, but Bestia broke that up. And then La Rebellion hit the Mark of the Beast, which is a powerbomb backstabber finisher for the 3 count and the victory. A really nice match. Again, good high spots in this. Again, that one botch really did just throw the whole thing off, unfortunately, and I think ruined a lot of the momentum that had been built up. It's also kind of hard to tell whether or not La Rebellion are supposed to be the heels or the faces in this, because they were acting... They got a lot of cheers, but they were acting very heelish throughout the whole match. And that just kind of gets confusing. Okay, we are now moving on to the quarterfinals, and these matches are going to go by a lot faster, thankfully. We open up with the Fixers versus the Cardonas. Again, I know you're getting the bracket again for pretty much all of these. Legursky basically dominated most of this match. They came down with a box of Cookie Crisp cereal and tried to pour it into the Crocket Cup, and then tried to give it to fans, and then tried to give it to Velvet Sky because she really likes Cookie Crisp. But then the Cardonas came out. DSK basically worked most of this match. At one point, like I said, Legursky basically... The funny thing was the Fixers kept getting in the wrong corner. Like they're supposed to be getting in neutral corners. So either here or here or here and here. But the Fixers lined up here, and then the Cardonas lined up here. So, yeah, that was kind of bizarre. Like I said, the Fixers hit a double headbutt on the VSK. They threw him into the ring post. Eventually, Knox got in, broke up a Vader bomb, ran into some distractions a couple of times to get the ref off bump, got the hot tag, and they hit their sort of roll the dice frog splash finisher on Legursky for the 3 count of victory. I think they might have gotten a low blow or a chop block on Legursky too, just to settle things in, and yeah, the Cardonas advanced. They work well as a team. I think both teams work well, and just that they couldn't really design themselves to go too long in this, I think. And the one problem with tournaments, especially tag team tournaments, is when you're going through something that quickly, you have to, keep things moving and keep things fresh, and you don't want things to drag too long, or else the show drags too long and then people get tired. And I think this is one that got victimized a little bit by the clock. So let's move on to our next semifinal, quarterfinal. And that was the Dirty Sexy Boys versus the Briscoes. This was a lot more evenly matched. Early on, the Briscoes go JTG into basically getting caught up in a double team. Mark then bit Django and grabbed a chair, used that to do a plancha to the outside of the ring. JTD came in, he caught Jay with a quick boot and then kind of a flying knee. Dango came back in, he hit Mark with a Falcon Arrow. The Briscoes began to fight back. Dango hit both Briscoes with a combination air raid crash and DDT, but the Briscoes fought back and hit the Froggy Bow for the 3 count of the victory. Again, this was definitely a better match that made it look a lot more... They didn't really have a lot of lulls. This was a better way to tell a faster paced match. Both teams looked good, so the Briscoes did an equal amount of selling. Like I said, I'm pretty sure the Briscoes are probably going to win this. That's just my hunch. Like I said, unless that somehow the NWA has gotten a deal with AEW to have FTR do a run-in, so we can continue that burgeoning feud as it goes on. But like I said, overall really good, really fun, and yeah, that was probably my match for night 1. After that, we had the next quarterfinal match, which was it's supposed to be Oxari versus La Rebellion. However, Luke Hawx had a concussion and they wouldn't let him compete. PJ decided to compete entirely on his own, and well, he did show some good maneuvers early on, doing a lot of waistlock takedowns and a big drop kick. Really, overall, he would fight back a little bit, but then another member of La Rebellion would come in. Mecha Wolf and Bestia 666 would just constantly switch out, hit a big maneuver. The big thing was they went for the Mark of the Beast, and PJ kicked out. And that just kind of like, ooh. Well, then they immediately went back and hit a second one for the 3 count of the victory. So I don't know how much momentum actually came through that, though the crowd did salute PJ afterwards for putting up the valiant fight. And that leads us into our last quarterfinal match, and the last match overall for the evening. The British Invasion versus Gold Rush. Tyrus this time was banned from ringside. However, he got on the mic and drilled into Clearwater and Rocket the importance of, hey, you're in there with a couple of real decorated tag team champions. You need to take this seriously and actually try to win it. And to the extent they did, they worked a lot more technical match, less brawly, less big maneuvers, less high spots. Williams still, though, put Clearwater Smith began they did a lot of the old British chain wrestling, so it's a lot of stretching, finger tweaking, and stuff like that. Williams, at one point, looked like they were going to, Gold Rush was going to double team Williams, but he pulled Clearwater into Rocket's path when he was doing a top rope maneuver. Let's see. Okay, sorry. After an attack on... at one point, though, Harry Smith had a bit of an advantage, but then Rocket chop-blocked Smith's knee. This enabled Gold Rush to go after Smith's knee after several attacks. Smith eventually hit a jumping enziguri, got the hot tag to Williams. Williams hit a couple of really big maneuvers. It looked like maybe Gold Rush was going to have another big shot, but then Williams snookered Clearwater into a Kimura lock. Clearwater immediately tapped to end it, so the British Invasion advanced to the semifinals. And yeah, I know they're the Commonwealth connection, but again, I wrote British Invasion, so that's kind of what I'm going with on that. So, I won't give my grade. I'll be doing that for both nights, for nights 1 and 2. So, but I will say this, I do, like I said, a lot of the matches were good, a lot of them really solid. It's just, I think, they kind of got a little victim of time. Like, I know they needed to do a couple of things. It's like they have the tag tournament and then they have the singles matches. And, maybe they could have broken up the tag tournament a little bit with a couple of singles matches in there. I think that would have really helped. And then, maybe just held a couple of first-round matchups during the kickoff show instead of, entirely on the main show proper. I mean, they did one, and they did, maybe drop the qualifying match and just do, like that, as I was saying. And that, I think that would have really helped. I think just the pacing of the show was a little wonky sometimes. And, again, announcing crew is, for the most part, the announcing crew is pretty good. I liked him. I've watched a little bit of the, not NWA Power, the other show. It's NWA USA or NWA Saturday USA or whatever it was called. And that has the broadcast team of the main guy, and whose name escapes me, unfortunately, Velvet Sky and Austin Idol, and that is, and like I said, you have Velvet Sky, who sounds like a robot. You have Austin Idol, who just looks confused all the time. In this case, on the show, you had the main guy, you had Tim Storm, you had Velvet Sky, and then for the last 2 matches, David Crocket was on there, and that felt a lot more robust. Tim Storm does a much better job of announcing. It definitely helped cover up for Velvet's inconsistencies. So yeah, overall, the shows, overall might not be the best part, but my thoughts for night 1 was that it was pretty good. I'm eager for night 2, and again, finally get a little more mixing of matches here, and not just tag matches to have to cover. So, see you for night 2.
Hey, Gator, why do you want to come here? Because these are the best ribs in the Mon Valley. Oh, get that Gator seal of approval, huh? You got it, brother. You can't get to be 500 pounds not eating good ribs. And drinking fine drink. How we doing, big guy? Everything all right? This is the best ribs in the Mon Valley. I appreciate it. Nice.
For the best ribs in at Mon Valley, stop in at the All New Amity, formerly the River Road Inn on Route 837 into Roseburg.
After a hard day at the office, working up a big thirst, many professionals reach for the smooth taste of Mellow Yellow.
Woo, baby! Mellow Yellow, the taste that beats Mountain Dew.
And now, Mellow Yellow has pictures and all the facts on your favorite NWA wrestlers. Ric Flair, Sting, the Road Warriors,
And even my pretty face.
head to your favorite store and collect all 12.
Woo! Take it from Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. Make the Mellow Yellow move.
It's Spring Break for the National Wrestling Alliance on Friday, April the 6th at the Washington County Convention Center, featuring Name Tag Revival in concert. Pitbull Bob Serio is looking for revenge against the Maniacal Crew.
I'm gonna beat your brains out, son.
The Georgia Giant, Stone Mountain, Big Don Brody, Ricky Murdoch defends the Mississippi Belt against Coco Beware.
You won't stop me!
Friday, April the 6th at the Washington County Convention Center. Proceeds to benefit the Pilot Club.
Okay, Crocket Cup Night 2, and I'm going to try to condense this down a little bit. I got a little unwieldy in that first part. Sorry about that, but yeah, there were kickoff show matches. I'll try to be as brief as I can. There were 3 of them. The first one was a singles match between AJ Kazana and Big Strong Mims. Kazana kind of dominated early on in the match. He had a big stun gun. He hit like a running senton with after a drop kick, or no. Yeah, the two yelled at each other repeatedly. Mims eventually came back at a jawbreaker, and then he hit a headbutt, lariat, and a Saito suplex for the 3 count in the victory. Okay, and then after that we had what was called a Team War match. This is a hard one because I don't know how brief I could keep this, but basically this was kind of like a tag match in a fighting video game. And so it was 3 teams of 3, so it was 9 men, and it was elimination style, so, you know, to win the match you had to eliminate the 6 other opponents, basically. And, okay, the 3 teams were Magic Jake Dumas and the Fixers, Gold Rush, and OGK and Scion. Okay, so Scion is, I believe, the son of Tim Brooks, and he wrestled under a mask, and he's been feuding with Austin Idol and his faction, Idol Mania Sports Management. I got that this time. And OGK are Mike Bennett and Matt Taman, who you know better as being part of Honor No More in Impact. They're baby faces here, they're heels in Impact. Anyway, yeah, basically, again, this is elimination style, so one of the unique factors of it was that Dumas and the Fixers basically stayed out of the match for the most part early on. The first elimination came when Scion eliminated G's, or Black G's, and then Cylon eliminated Rocket with a crossface after that. But then Clearwater tossed Scion out over the top rope, which counts as an elimination somehow, and that got the Fixers into it with Legursky coming in and eliminating Clearwater. But then, Clearwater eliminated... Clearwater was eliminated by Legursky, and then OGK and the Fixers were the only ones left. Dumas got eliminated by Clearwater. That's where I got goofed up. Bradley eliminated Matt Taven and eliminated Mike Bennett, but Taven came back and eliminated Legursky and Bradley from the Fixers to win the match for his team and his side. Overall, it was a good match, but I think that's one where it probably should be more like those guys are not exactly main eventers here, but that's a main event style match that really should not be on a kickoff show. And then we had one last singles match that was Alex Taylor of Ill Begotten versus PJ Hawks. Captain Yuma accompanied Taylor to the ring. Yuma kept interfering in the match and distracting it, much to Taylor's chagrin. Taylor did use it very briefly to get something of an advantage because Hawks was just chain wrestling through everything, but eventually Hawks came back. He hit a big... what did I write here? He had a jackknife powerbomb into a pin, basically. Locked on a single crab after that. Taylor tapped out almost immediately, and then afterwards Taylor attacked Yuma, and that basically is signifying something. I don't know. Okay. And now we need to move on to the Crocket Cup Semifinals match. We're onto the show proper at this point. It's the first episode. First match is the Cardonas versus the Briscoes. Knox didn't really work much in this match. Again, it was a lot of VSK working it. He did catch Mark in a head scissors and follow that up with a not a drop kick. Whatever. Oh, shoot. Step up insecurity. That's what I'm thinking of. Eventually, angered both. Both Briscoes basically targeted VSK. They kept knocking Knox off of the ring apron all the time, doing everything they could to distract him. Knox did get in. He hit a big crossbody. They hit a moonsault leg drop combo on Jay Briscoe. But eventually the Briscoes won out. They hit, they hit a devastation device or a doomsday device on, I keep wanting to say Taven, VSK, for the 3 count of the victory to win that match and advance to the finals. After that, we had the second semifinal match, La Rebellion versus, I keep writing British Invasion. Yes, I know they're the Commonwealth connection of Doug Williams and Harry Smith. Excuse me. And, let's see, Smith, again, Smith worked a lot of this match until, I believe it was Bestia, no, it was Mecha Wolf, hit him with a chop block. Smith injured his knee. Williams had to come and work a lot of the match after that. However, eventually, it looked like the big thing was happening. La Rebellion went for the Mark of the Beast. They hit it. They tried to hit it. They didn't get anywhere near it. They had Williams in the position for the power bomb into the backstabber, but I think Bestia slipped a little bit. He fell just a little short, and so he slipped out of it, and they didn't hit all of it, but it was only a 2 count, and it was supposed to look more impressive. Smith got in, got around to it, and caught, I believe it was, hit the running power slam on one of the members of the La Rebellion. I didn't quite catch who it was. I think it was Mecha Wolf. Smith had a running power slam off the second rope for the 3 count and the victory. So yes, the Commonwealth Connection, or the British Invasion, made it to the finals in kind of a surprise maneuver. Okay, our next match is the NWA National Championship match. Anthony Mayweather versus Jax Dane. These two were part of a tag team. Mayweather competed under the name Crimson. They broke up. Jax has turned heel. But then Mayweather went out and won a championship, kind of much to, I keep wanting to call him Dane's chagrin, Jax Dane's chagrin. But now they're having their big blow-up, you would think. So, yeah, early on, Dane kind of powered through a lot of the match. At one point, Mayweather hit a big torpe, but he was supposed to be selling a knee injury, but the way it looked, it was more like he almost spiked his head off the concrete. He did come back, hit a big spine buster, but he was selling a knee injury. However, at one point, Dane hit a big superplex and then began going after the knee again. He dropped an elbow on it, but that just snookered Mayweather into locking on an armbar, and Jax Dane immediately tapped out after that. And, Mayweather celebrated as best as he could. He was still clearly injured. And apparently this was all Jax Dane's evil plan, because he immediately started attacking the knee again. He just went after it, viciously assaulted him. And it turns out that some months earlier, he was part of a team challenge series type thing with the Pope and Velvet Sky, and they won it, which means they can claim a title shot whenever they want to. He wasn't claiming his title shot during this first match, but he was able to claim a rematch right then and there, which is what he did, and he immediately hit his big lariat finisher for the 3 count of the victory. Evil shenanigans are evil. So yeah, that was a little weird, and again, if you maybe weren't entirely familiar with the story, you weren't going to get a lot of the gravitas of the match. It just came across like, wait, why does he get a second shot so quickly? Oh, wait, no, never mind. From there, it's the NWA Women's Tag Team Championship match. The Hex versus Kenzie Page and Ella Envy, who call themselves something Empowerment. I didn't quite get all of it. The Hex are Marty Bell and Allison Kay, the latter of whom you might recall as either Katie Lee Burchill in WWE or Whisper in TNA or Impact. That weird storyline. Oh boy. That is a storyline for a different time. Basically, Paige and Envy are playing the kind of very self-obsessed, plucky upstarts. They were somehow spooked by their own smoke machine for some reason. during their entrance, and then they seemed to want to use the belts to take selfies. And by that I mean they were using the belts to like angle and like a selfie stick, which I don't think those things are capable of. They tried to do some things in this. I think pretty much the Hex dominated this match. Kay came in and he had a big backbreaker, he had kind of a powerbomb-like maneuver. At one point, Paige and Envy tried to pull a little twin magic, because they do look sort of alike, except Envy's a little bit taller and a little bit heavier. And it fooled absolutely no one, because they pulled it like way too early in the match. And it completely blew up in their faces as Kay hit the Dominator for the 3 count of the victory. Yeah, this was a kind of a go-nowhere match. It had some interesting ideas. I don't think they fully executed it very well, though. Alright, and then kind of in between that, Trevor Murdoch came out. He was the former NWA champion, and he's been in concussion protocol, so he hasn't been able to go after his championship. And he sort of miffed that Nick Aldis sort of stepped in front of him. Like, he understood why he did it, and it's not, but it's kind of a, hey, you know, when you're cheering him, you're cheering against me, because I should have gotten this title opportunity at this thing, not him, not Nick Aldis. And when you're cheering Matt Cardona, you're cheering the guy who beat me. So, yeah, now I don't like you. So basically, he turned heel. But, yeah. From there, we get the NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship 4-way match. Austin Aries versus Colby Carino versus Homicide versus Carter Lockhart. Or no, Darius Lockhart, sorry. Couldn't help but notice Homicide comes out with a free Cain Velasquez shirt. Anyway, there's a lot of high spots in this, a lot of dueling torpes. I liked early on, they worked a bit of an angle where Aries and Homicide, being the older veterans of the group, were going after the youngsters in Carino and Lockhart. Lockhart had a few decent moves. They got some again, a lot of got a big crossbody on Carino at one point. Carino hit kind of a slingshot spear onto Homicide. Aries got in a few licks here and there. He had a brainbuster, and he locked on Lance Chancery at one point. But Homicide fought out of that. He hit the Koji Cutter on Aries and the Cop Killer on Carino to cover, get the 3 count, and become the rebranded inaugural Junior Heavyweight champion. The Junior Heavyweight Championship goes back to like the beginning of the NWA, but it had been discontinued for a long time, and now it was getting reborn as their new non-cruiserweight. It's 225 and under, and there's kind of a unique reference point in the championship itself, because you know, back in the day, 225 was considered a heavyweight, and now it's, you know, not. So, you know, Buddy Rogers competed at 225 and was an NWA heavyweight champion, but now he would be a junior heavyweight. So, if that junior heavyweight had existed at that point, so you get kind of this, hey, we're going to reference both, we're going to reference Buddy Rogers, and I forget who it was the first ever NWA junior heavyweight champion. Overall, the match was pretty decent. From there, we have the NWA Women's Championship triple threat match. Camille against Kylie Ray against Chelsea Green. A lot of good points in this match. Camille having to reluctantly work occasionally with Ray, and not so much with Green. They were definitely both against Green, but Camille would constantly go into business for herself, just enough to set off Kylie Ray. And basically the big high point in the match happened when Green hit a missile drop kick, but then Ray locked on a double crossface. They had a big pyramid doom spot, and then as this was happening, Camille got knocked out of the ring. Camille hit the radio silence on Green, and then went for the radio silence is Matt Cardona's finisher. Matt Cardona is Chelsea Green's husband. So she then tried to lock Green in a torture rack, but Green inadvertently struck the ref and knocked him unconscious. Kylie Ray came in, super kicked Camille out of the ring, got a big move to apparently knock out Green, who just kicked out at the last minute. And then Camille came in and speared Kylie Ray just at the last second to get a 3 count of the victory. That was kind of the big high spot there, what the whole thing was building to. That was a really entertaining match. All three women did a lot in the ring, did a good job telling a story, and definitely left people wanting more, and definitely could take things in very interesting directions after that. Okay, our next match is the NWA Television Championship match, Tyrus versus Rodney Mack. Austin Idol, who manages Tyrus as well, they're part of the Idol Mania sports management group, came out and said he's turning Tyrus loose. He's not even going to, Idol wasn't even going to be at ringside. He and Rodney Mack landed some big blows. The big happening was Tyrus went up to the top rope. Mack caught him, hit a big superplex, got up, but Tyrus managed to recover just enough to hit the heart punch and get the 3 count for the victory. Yeah, this was a mostly forgettable match, unfortunately. It didn't seem to really go much anywhere. And then that leads us into the finals of the Crocket Cup, the Briscoes versus the Commonwealth Connection, a.k.a. the British Invasion. David Crocket and the Pope joined the announce team. I don't know why the Pope did, but okay. Everything began nice. There was a nice handshake. Williams worked quite a bit of this match, but then Harry Smith, I think, worked a majority of it as well. Mark, the Briscoes definitely got more in there. Jay did hit a few big maneuvers. He hit a big boot. Williams hit a flying European uppercut off the turnbuckle. And then Smith landed a series of headbutts onto Jay and got a big drop kick on him. And then Mark hit a flying chop to possibly onto Williams. I may be wrong on that. But Williams managed to break up the froggy bow attempt. Smith came in and he had a big superplex on Mark. The Friscoes did eventually hit the froggy bow on Doug Williams, but Williams just managed to kick out. But Harry Smith got Jay up for the power slam. Mark broke that up, and the Briscoes hit a second froggy bow on Williams for the 3 count of the victory to claim the Crocket Cup. Kind of like how I thought it was going to turn out. I thought it said, it was a great match. I will say that. I think both teams really brought their all. It was a really entertaining match. Good high spots, good storytelling. It definitely came across as both. I'd say maybe the only drawback is obviously the Briscoes probably aren't going to go after the NWA Tag Champions anytime soon. And, not entirely knowing what the whole situation is with Ring of Honor / AEW or any of that. I know because of some comments Jay made in the past, some very stupid comments. AEW's been iffy on trying to work with them, but they're getting their big match with the Revival at the Supercard of Honor show. So I don't know how much that has to do with anything, but still, could be interesting. But yeah, it definitely looks like they're maybe gearing up the Commonwealth Connection or the New British Invasion to go after La Rebellion, who definitely worked more as heels in this their match earlier. So that was interesting there. And that leads us into our main event, the NWA World Championship match, Matt Cardona versus Nick Aldis with Jeff Jarrett as the special guest referee. Right off the bat, I'll try to get through this as quickly as I can. But Cardona tried to get counted out early. Jeff Jarrett said, "Nope, no countouts. You're not going to cheap out a victory on this. These people deserve a classic match." Aldis got some big maneuvers, but then Cardona came back, got them fighting on the outside, hit a double arm DDT on the outside, much like he had done with Trevor Murdoch. Aldis managed to fight back again. They got into the guardrail. He came back with a lariat, and then basically the high spot in this match was that the big point in the match, I guess. VSK and Knox came down to the ring. Harry Smith and Doug Williams came out to try to stop them. Another big brawl ensued as Jarrett was distracted and everything. Chelsea Green gets into the ring and low blows Jarrett. At that point, Mickie James climbs in. Mickie James is Nick Aldis' wife. Climbs in the ring and attacks Chelsea Green. And I've been trying to keep track of what's happened on Impact recently, but has Chelsea turned on Mickie finally? Like, I know they were selling this, the idea that she had faked her a broken arm, but Other than that, I don't really know so much about that. But yeah, James took out Chelsea. However, when Jarrett turned around, he saw James standing in the ring. That is important. But in the breakout, in the schmaz, Aldis got Cardona in his cloverleaf finisher. I believe he calls it the King's Leaf. And it looked like Cardona tapped out. Jarrett called for the bell, but he was calling for a DQ because he thought Mickie James was the one who low-blowed him. So Cardona retains. So, yep, they dusty finished it, which, yeah, that makes sense for the NWA, I guess. In a way, it kind of makes sense overall because Cardona did just win the championship. It doesn't make sense to have him be this invader who only gets like a month-long championship reign. So, yeah, well, I do like the way they're telling the story. Like, he's working, I think he's working better in the NWA than he is in Impact, although really his best work is still in GCW. But Cardona is just a great natural heel in this, and it did a really good job telling the story. If I had one problem, I thought the match went on a little too long. It was a little clunky. It got really kind of clunky and clustery in a not-so-good way towards the end. Alright, so my thoughts on everything overall. I thought Night 2 was definitely an improvement from Night 1. Like I said, Night 1 had the problem where I think there was so many tag matches that it was just really hard to try to keep track of everything. And, you know, like I said, it was tag match after tag match after tag match, and all of them had to be done relatively quickly because there were so many. I mean, if I had my druthers, I would have just dropped the singles matches off the kickoff shows, moved a couple more tag team matches onto the first kickoff show, so that way you could have done the first 2 rounds in a much more tighter fashion, and then maybe you could have put a singles match or 2, like put the television championship match on the first night. Like, it didn't add anything to the second night, it just really felt kind of tacked on and meaningless, and I think that would have worked a little bit better. I think I would say the tele and the women's tag team could have easily just been on the first night. I don't think they needed to be on the second night. I liked the second night a lot more. The tag matches had a lot more room to breathe because there weren't so many of them. There were only, not counting the women's tag match, there were only 3. So, yeah, so the Crocket Cup matches, I think, definitely flowed a lot more. They did a better job telling stories, and like I said, it had enough high-impact spots to make everything work. The Junior Heavyweight Championship match was all right. Again, there were some points where my mind just kind of wandered around and I started looking up other things, which, not the best way to partake in that sort of thing. And, like I said, overall the matches were good. I think, the only one that kind of weirded me out was that North American Championship match. And that was just kind of because I wasn't entirely familiar with everything going into it. Again, like I said, overall, I thought the main event was good, but it was just kind of clunky towards the end. And that's kind of the thing, I think, overall, the show was good, it was enjoyable, but it had some real clunky moments that kind of dragged it down. And that's why I'm going to be giving Crocket Cup 2022, both nights, overall, a B. Like I said, it's not bad, but it definitely had some room for improvement. And if they can do this again in the future, hopefully they will. Okay, so right now the next video is going to be the random trade review on Invincible Volume 2. I'm in the early stages of scripting that. It's not going to be a long episode at all. There's not a lot of background information in this one. I mean, I tackled the background information in the first volume, so a lot of it's kind of summarizing that again. So yeah, this one's, I don't know how, it's going to be a real short episode. And then after that, there's going to be a 3-week break in between random trade review episodes because next week is basically the lead up to WrestleMania, and I'm going to be focusing on that. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions, where you can help me expand my wrestling coverage to stuff beyond WWE, NXT, and the occasional AEW free show.